The tentative topic I put up is dating during a disaster and creating from consciousness. So some of the things that are going on right now as we speak are alignments, right? What brand of water do I drink? This is not a paid advertisement, by the way. I drink water that I've been working with. It's made by Post-it. This is made by Post-it. So I've been sick. I thought I had COVID. I went and got a COVID test again, and it came back negative. But as we know, we don't know if negative will be, is negative really negative? We don't know. So I'm going a little bit back to my roots. If you're not familiar with some of my older videos or my book on Amazon, Putting the Soul Back in Soulmates, my original quest prior to expanding consciousness was to give people the ability to become an example of their best self, and then to gravitate towards that as a way of living, a way of life. And that hasn't changed. I think it's important. I think it's important. There's a lot of lonely people out there. There's a lot of people that are lonely and they are actually in a relationship. So this is going to be backtracking a little bit into some of the topics that I've talked about, but I feel that it's very necessary. I feel that a lot of people really want to know information on what do you do? Where do you go? What do you do if you don't feel full? And I think the important thing is, and as you can see, I did make Post-its. This is how I make spiritual notes when I've got something coming in. And to be quite honest, the pursuit of consciousness or awakening doesn't outweigh how you process your life, how you put yourself out there, what type of possibilities do you have. Just because you're becoming conscious doesn't mean that you cut yourself out of creating a healthy space or relationship. Just because you believe yourself to be into this level of awakening or starseed inspiration or downloads, it doesn't mean that you have to do it alone. Part of the tribal experience is being able to find a frequency with friends, with family, and with people that you could see yourself pushing forward with. And I think, you know, for those of you probably age 35 and up, you have gone through the world. We are adapting to a new earth, a new world. And through the course of that, it's going to require new methodology. It's going to require a new mindset. It's going to require us to think outside of the box. And you may think you've already been doing that when it comes to dating, or when it comes to creating friendships, or when it comes to how do you form connections that are not going to always be a catalyst. How do you move away from a topic such as twin flame that has tied you and leased you to struggling and suffering? How do you see yourself beyond that? How do you create space for a successful relationship? How do you begin to understand and to move away from a subconscious envy of other people because we've seen them broadcast on YouTube or Instagram or other outlets of social media, where we tend to exasperate our decision-making process, or because your ego looks for evidence to build. And if you're trying to build friendships or relationships, or if you're trying to fix the relationship you're in right now, and you're pulling evidence from sources that from the appearance, from the onset, look like they are successful, but you're not understanding what's in the belly of the beast. We're seeing life through a filter rather than the frequency. We may be working with the wrong information, and over analyzing things. We might be out assessing ourselves from possibilities. There's a couple things that I went through as I was working with somebody today, talking about dating during a disaster. I'm going to create quite a bit of information for that for those of you that want to dive in deeper. Use the comment section to create some space. We're going to do some lives on Instagram. I'm not Instagram, but on Patreon to open up the conversation. We may even do a couple Zoom groups to open up how to fix the frequency of your relationship right now, how to move forward, how to create a conscious uncoupling. How do you become what you're wanting? How do you become the one? How do you become the love you're looking for? Because love is not lost. The world that we're in right now, masked, is just another observation. People have been wearing masks for many years. And I think that this just shows us and reminds us the blatancy that it was occurring with. I've been guilty in my past of wearing masks. When I went through plant medicine, I saw that, and it was disturbing. But it doesn't swerve you out of the direction of consciousness, because anything that you go through, even trying to get a date, is part of your waking up, right? One of the questions that I got today was, let me go back to it, awakened men. And obviously, there's a lot of women that watch this channel, and I don't want you to count men out. We have to be careful in any variant of what you might believe is conscious or awakening. It's kind of like being an alcoholic. Once you realize you're an alcoholic, that's when the work starts. It doesn't mean that you're never going to crave it, doesn't mean that you're going to cancel it out, doesn't mean that you're going to stop hanging out with people because they might have a glass of wine. Because it comes down to you, your perception. You can have friendships with people that are not quote unquote awakened. You can have relationships with people that are not conscious. Because even in the greatest state of unconsciousness, as the world has shown us, as we've been dealing with this disaster, we're all waking up. There is no stone left unturned that is going to be unaffected. Everyone is getting up and getting out of bed. Don't punish people because they may have gotten a late start. Don't believe yourself to be beyond or above anyone. The moment that you do, you are limiting your own consciousness and your own awakening. When you believe that you can no longer learn something from someone, you yourself have become lost. I can learn from a blade of grass. I can learn from a bird. I can learn from I can learn from a bully, right? There is, when you tap into source, when you tap into your ability to awaken, when you tap into what love really looks like, it's very nurturing. It's very compassionate. So where we might view compromise, actually compromise doesn't enter the picture. Compromise is still, I'm collecting information for myself, I'm coming from a state of self-gratification. But when I view doing something for somebody that might not be exactly what I wanted to do, when I'm in a state of love and a great vibration, I'm coming from a place of compassion, not compromise. So there's a lot of different variants on how we perceive things. Same thing goes with dating or love. Now, I will, just to give you a little bite into some of the dialed in details that I got in a conversation earlier for helping someone. Imagine you are single, you are perceiving yourself to be awakened or conscious or walking the path. You're having a difficult time, like I said, finding a conscious partner. We won't say man, because there's a lot of awakened people and a lot of people that from outside look unawakened. Where do you go to find somebody? Well, you don't have to go anywhere directly, but you go everywhere indirectly. Open doors, opportunity. When you send energy to the world, do you only, there's times when you send it to someone specific, but when the shamanic frequency raises, we're sending energy to the entire world. So when you're sending intention out and you're looking for the one, are you specifically dialing into an idea that you defined as this is what will make me happy? Because there's a large part of you probably right now that looks in the mirror and gauges your happiness on who you were, not the potential of who you could be. So I would say explore all avenues, whether it's online dating, whether it's becoming part of a group, whether it's gearing up to go to a retreat that starts to open as the world starts to kind of gather itself after this huge event that we've gone through over the past year. It's not the way you find somebody. It's the fact that you found somebody. We get so caught up in judgment of our journey that we allow past injuries or we allow people's perceptions to kind of push us into places that create internal illusions or lies. For instance, imagine you met somebody online, but your family's against it. There's been those of you that have created a story, a second side of a story, so don't tell them we met online. I don't want them to think that. You're creating illusion. You're allowing other people that are outside to judge you. You're not allowing this love to take flight. Because I would say there's a lot of successful people that have met online or even in line at the store, and we romanticize certain things and we tend to run towards that as the definition of what we've done because we don't want people to know truth. Now, as we redefine that, and you take ownership of maybe you met somebody at the gym, maybe you met somebody at a bar, maybe it was a one-night stand that led to marriage and you've been together for 30 years. Maybe you met on a dating site, right? Don't let the decision to do that dictate or be dictated by other people and their perception. Stand strongly in where you are. That's part of awakening. Being able to walk where you are and being proud of that. Being part of that. Putting yourself completely in that. Immersing yourself in every decision you make. Now, I want to compare how we go through dating in the beginning, kind of like digestion. And I know it's kind of weird. Wow, how could I compare it to digestion? There is a certain cocktail that creates health within the body with vitamins, with nutrients, with fiber, with carbohydrates, sugar. There's a system that you could endure to really escalate the health of your body. Same thing with relationships and dating. You can make conscious decisions. If you're conscious, you make conscious decisions. Now, talking to unconscious people, if you're conscious, should not pull you into a tailspin of feeling unconscious. If it did, then your conscious awakened ass better walk away from every kid that you ever meet, because kids are not creating on the illusionary variant that I'm above people and I'm conscious. They're just creating. So the idea that you can define yourself as I shouldn't share space with certain people already tells me that there's a lot of work to be done, that what you're pulling behind your tail is pretty heavy, pretty weighty, and it's a lot of injuries that you got to look deeper into so that you can decide, am I binging and purging on past? Am I still allowing the processed parts of experience to come through me? Am I still eating what's been given to me, or am I willing to go forward and go into the future and pick those ripe fruit and taste something? If you start to perceive awakening as a daily process rather than a long-term goal or a status, a level of status, awakening in consciousness has led itself into a label that we associate with long-term longevity and love, and it has nothing to do with that. Consciousness is not something that creates space outside of this present moment. The present moment gears you to be able to replicate this going forward. Our future is not foretold or fabricated and frozen in time because of what we've done today. We can change it tomorrow. We can change our experience right now. We can change our perception right now, and it completely folds in the future that was and creates a new functional future. We don't have to resolve ourselves to the past, the person that you dated in the past. If you've determined you've dated a pattern instead of a person, we want to look at that. We want to go deeper. But today we're talking about open doors, not using the when and then model for your dating life or for your marriage life or your relationship. Well, when they do this, then I'll do that. When they do this, I'll do that. Well, when they take out the trash, then I'm going to say thank you. What if you said thank you before they even took out the trash? What if you were able to engineer things in such a way that rather than calling people out for what they didn't do, you were making it so prosperous for them to show up because they felt so supported? This is what you want. This is what you're looking for. This is what you believe yourself to be starving for. But yet we do have a tendency not to offer that ourselves. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is never going back. Be new, be you. Be you and be new, right? So where we are right now, today, jump back 1 year previous to this, and 2 years previous to this. We're never going to be there again, in more ways than one. We're never going to be in the world the way it was before. So if you're looking for somebody, if you are looking for love, first start looking within, but that's a different conversation. But if you're trying to determine what you want to do to date in the future, you can't use the same methods, the same modalities you did in the past as effectively. Will bars come back? Maybe, yeah, some of them will, but many of them won't. Will restaurants come back? Many of them will, but many of them won't. Will we get to interact the way we did before? In some ways, but not the same. So you have to alter how you view your opportunities. You need to be open. You need to become willing to take leaps of faith. Now, one tip before I go, if you start to think about how to explore the online world, think about cooking dinner. If I drive through a fast food restaurant, I'm not getting something that's going to really fill me up for a long-term time, and it's not going to be very healthy or nourishing for who I am inside. Versus if I go to the store, take some time, get the ingredients, come home, work with the recipe, and take that time and then sit down and have that meal's much better for me. I've connected with the environment of that meal. I've been able to infuse that with my consciousness, with my awakening, and my intention. An online app for a phone is not generally going to be as fruitful as, say, a dating site they have to sit down and create a profile and really take some time. So swiping left and swiping right will be more of a night than a long term. So second piece of advice for those of you that are looking for some clarity, if you want to utilize the internet, which is definitely you should, as a resource for possibly running into the right one. First, you become the right one, but then when you open up opportunities across the board, they will find you. But so will everybody else. Your ego doesn't disappear. It continues the pattern. It continues testing you to see where you're at. What are you telling yourself? That test will come back. That pattern will replicate. You have to be aware enough to step outside of your form to recognize that. So you're online. You created a profile. You put up your pictures. You need to ask yourself, is this really who I am? Are these pictures current? Is this bio really embodying who I am right now? Is it saying what I'm looking for, what I want, what I won't settle for? And remember, the first day you go online, don't answer anybody that emailed you. If you post a picture and post a profile and post a bio at 5 p.m. and by 6 p.m. as a lady, you have 25 men and emails in your inbox, just delete all of them, right? That's the easy way. That's how the pattern is searching for you. Delete all of them. If somebody's persistent, they'll email you again. Take the time to shop. Take the time to look for the ingredients that you want. Sit down and stop waiting for people to find you and become proactive. Peruse the profiles. Look for the picture that screams out to you, and then be selective. You, as a woman, take the urgency to contact the man. Don't really, I've found, and I've been in the dating industry for a long time, worked with eHarmony, Match.com, American Singles, JDate, Christian Singles, AOL Love, all of them. The highest success rate comes from eHarmony so far for longevity in marriage. Why is that? Because they slow down the pace of conversation. I'll create a little something so that for those of you that are single and looking, where you can have a little bit of a lanyard before you take that leap, so that you have some confidence that you can create the proper space to entertain this as an option. But safety is paramount for men or women. So there's another protocol that I'd like to go over that later on. But just keep in mind, somebody that responds to your profile within the hour that you post it didn't take time to really read it. They just saw your picture. This is why Tinder doesn't have a lot of success. This is why Tinder is utilized by people that are trying to drown their sorrows, their suffering. They're looking for a replacement for somebody before, which is a repetition of a pattern, and that's why you see so many people walk away. Now, if you're using it for that purpose, I'm not throwing shade. But I'm saying if you're searching for what you would deem as the awakened person, or somebody that's trying to create space for you or for love, we want to do it a different way. And what I would like to put out there as well is age 35 to age 65, we're going to see things a little differently. We're dealing with the variant of this defined space and time because we don't have the same ideas. And that's one thing we can work on, elongating our potential back out, finding the child inside, finding the energy to uplift your experience and your connection so you don't feel anxiety and you don't feel this urgency that you have to find someone this second. Part of that is the desperation of not being able to be part of your experience now. You're allowing the future to scare you. So one of the other things that I made as a point here, 4 emotions or ideas. When you think of a relationship, let's just throw an emotion or a feeling out there. Fullness. Think of fullness, and I want you to define it. I want you to really sit there and what does fullness feel like? Compare it with, find something you can compare it with in the physical world. Like when I think of fullness, I think I just ate a whole plate of strawberries, right? Like a great piece of mahi-mahi, or I had a great coffee. Fullness is a feeling where I feel satiated, where I feel I don't long for anything, I don't need anything. It's a very warm, subtle feeling where I feel planted, where I feel I'm good. Another one would be, let's say, sexy, right? You want a feeling or an emotion that could be derived from feeling sexy is where you feel seen. You feel that you've shown yourself in such a way that people have seen you. But here's one point. Do you want someone to dictate what sexy is by how they see you? Or do you want to see yourself as sexy? So that requires self-exploration. That's where mirror work really comes in. You want to look at yourself from a new way. This is a new world. You've got an opportunity and a shot here to create a completely new you. You've got an opportunity to complete and to perform in a different way. First, see everything as an opportunity. See the world full of options. Don't throw a glass ceiling on going forward at all. There's potentiality that exists around every corner. Don't let fear, don't let the media, don't let expectations, don't let family, don't let patterns, don't let past barricade you and to block you from the potential of what you can create in anything that you set yourself towards. It's unlimited, right? Don't even allow astrology to stop you. Don't even allow a card reading or a gut feeling to make you feel dysfunctional so you're afraid of failure. There's no such thing as failure. It's only finding your way. Like Ram Dass said, we're just walking each other home. In the course of that, there are things that you can do to set yourself up for better states of success, especially when it comes to finding yourself, to displaying everything that you found in such a way that it triggers and it attracts the right kind of people and person. That's really what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to become a beacon. I want you to become the producer, the broadcaster, the star, the writer, the director of your radio show. I want you to broadcast it to the world so the world can hear what it is that you're saying and what you're speaking from your soul. And the people, the listeners that want to hear that need to hear that long to hear that, will tune in. The people that don't will tune out. And then you will move forward on a wave that will carry you no matter where or what that happens. It's going to take you in the direction that you're creating and manifesting for yourself. So don't get sidetracked. Don't sabotage yourself. Don't put a limiter on the ways that love can locate you. Would you want to limit the love in your life on how your own self-love takes form and shape? No, you want self-love in every direction. You want self-love in what you eat, see, say, do, and listen to. So you want to poise yourself and build that 5-part possibility so that your banking account, your human being banking account, is blowing the doors off. It's so full of life, love, and energy. It's not limited by anything. So you wouldn't limit yourself. Like, imagine that somebody wants to go out and they want to take you to a restaurant and you perceive that that restaurant is not healthy and they may not have anything that I can eat. I'm not going to go to that. Can we go somewhere else? But the person really had their heart set on going there. I guarantee you, if you approach it from a different way, you could go to that restaurant, sit down, and find something that would satiate you, that would still serve your soul song. We're learning a different way to look at things. We've become unknowingly harsh in our process of love. We've become unknowingly judgmental in how we are becoming conscious. We have limited opportunities with the way that we're walking through awakening because it is triggering within us isolation, separation, distance, and we're not bringing the beautiful world with us. When we can find beauty in the darkest corners, we can bring the world with us. We're leaving the world behind as we believe ourselves to be waking up. But that's not ascension, that's not awakening, that's not consciousness. That's ego, and that's a false identification with the truth of spirit. So let us not do that in any aspect, on any plane. Let's look at everything from a possibility. Let's go to the eyes of God and look at everything with purpose. Whether it's the tiniest fish, the smallest flower, the littlest flying insect, the biggest bird, or the boldest, biggest, hugest grizzly bear, everything has a purpose, everything has a part of the cycle. And when we can see ourselves in all of it, then we begin to change how we view the potential to create space for love, for life, for family. And then we are no longer in a state of opposition within ourselves, allowing scarcity to dictate us, because again, if you believe yourself to be so conscious or so awakened that you can't have a conversation, or you're not gonna, you're gonna leave your partner because they're not awoken. Are you really waking up, or are you finding excuses to evacuate your life, and you're using spirituality as a side road to sabotage something because you don't know what truth and what love and what compassion actually are when you live them? Not saying that you don't walk away from certain things, but I'm saying a lot of people are using spirituality, consciousness, and awakening as an excuse to sabotage something because they don't see an answer. The reason why they don't see an answer is because they're not looking at it with God's eyes. They're looking at it with old eyes and old intentions and old patterns. They're not tapping into possibility. Nobody's on the same page 100% of the time. Nobody's going to wake up the same way, right? It's a personal quest, a personal walk. So don't judge people because they don't personally understand you all the time. If you can't tell it to a 6-year-old, you don't know it yourself. That's what Einstein said. So I'm not going to punish somebody because they don't understand me. I need to come to a different space on how can I speak to them in a way that they get what I'm trying to say. That's the quest. That's the test. How do I take what I believe myself to know on a logical level and convey it to somebody, even though in my heart I've already set it up and I've severed that because you don't see me. You're not part of my frequency. You don't resonate with me. You're limiting yourself. God doesn't do that. Only labels do, ego does. So spirituality, ascension, and consciousness don't separate. They become inclusive. They bring people the knowledge and the nurturing that they can eat at that level. You give a baby food, but the baby will grow and eventually eat bigger people food. What part of awakening and consciousness is that we know how to nourish people. We know what nourishment looks like, sounds like, feels like, and we know how to nourish people. So we begin to move towards that knowledge. If we can't cultivate what we deem as the unconscious part of our world, we're all doomed. Let's define the space. Let's rationalize the space. Let's know what it is that we're setting ourselves up for. Dating during a disaster starts by making good, solid decisions that bring us back together. Solid, expansive, inclusive decisions that allow opportunity at every turn. People will not date other people because maybe they don't have much money. They're not as successful. That doesn't mean that there's, so what? They failed at the societal rung. That doesn't mean that they're the wrong person. There's a lot of things that dictate our decisions. Clearing the slate, cleaning it, and starting to dial in on the deeper parts of what love looks like, that's where you're going to find that dating's going to turn into something deeper. Unless you just want to keep dating and going from door to door, ringing doorbells, go for it. But if you're looking for something deeper, like a keeper, then we got to start cultivating a lot of different things. First thing, yourself. Second thing, how you see the world around you. Because when you change that vision, you start to include other people that weren't on the path before, right? So yes, this is exactly right. We're all being mamas. So I'll be back on later tonight. We'll do readings, but this is the beginning of dating during a disaster. I just felt like people really want to feel that confidence and starting to create a conscious space for connection. And we're going to try to bring that space alive, create that space down below. If you've got questions, I'll do my best to answer, or there's other people here that are pretty knowledgeable that can also answer. If you want to go deeper into that, come to Patreon, and we're going to do some Zoom videos on it, trying to just break some of the patterns, right? Peace, light, and love. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, wonderful day. And my sixth self will see you soon. Take care of your health. It is your wealth.